All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday, April 19th. We have a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video like we always do. I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so what I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. To recap yesterday, no, we couldn't keep a scorching streak alive. We go 3-3, our winners being the Mariners, Blue Jays first 5 under, Yankees money line, and then the Brewers team total over. Our losers being the Guards, Pirates first 5 under, the Yankees team total over. They won that one, 1-0, and then Brent Rooker late in the game. We had his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. That doesn't come through. But again, 3-3, not going to cry about it, but it sure as hell not anything to celebrate either. But it's a new day today, and I do like the board today. I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. So let's go ahead and dive into this slate. Guys, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Let's go ahead and get rocking here with game number 1. We got Philadelphia taking on Miami. T1 Walker, whatever the hell his name is, on the mound for the Phillies, going up against Cal Quantrill. So neither one of these guys I like really whatsoever, to be completely honest. We do have some weather conditions in Philly. Looks like it's going to be warm with almost 80 degrees with over 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing directly out to the outfield. So that's why that total is up there. Walker's struggled with keeping the ball on the ground at times this season, whereas Cal Quantrill, say what you want about him, I've never been a big Quantrill guy, but he is a ground ball pitcher and has shown that this season, so that might give Miami a little bit of an edge here. I would say just by default, I lean towards the Marlins in this spot because there's just no chance I get behind Walker with these windy conditions and whatnot. I would also say maybe a potential lean towards the over, because what if Philadelphia's bats do come alive and everything like that, and we have those conditions hot, wind blowing out. So this isn't my favorite spot on the board, but yeah, just by default, because those odds are crazy and I don't want to back Walker, I'll lean towards Miami. And then, like I said, the over, because I could see Miami having a decent offensive day, which, you know, they've been kind of cold, but, you know, back in that Washington series, which was only 2 series ago, up to that, they were looking okay, right? And then Philadelphia, we know, is a very good offense, whether they're hitting it in the air or on the ground, they can score some damn runs. Moving on to this Detroit and Kansas City game, and this Kansas City offense, it's like, I'm going to look crazy at some point, being like, eventually they're going to hit and blah, blah, blah. Like, the fact that in their last 10 games here, they've had 1 game in which they scored 4 or more runs, and guess what? They scored 4 runs in that game. They've had 2 games in which they've scored 0, and they've scored 1 in like 2 or 3 of them. So 0, 3, 0, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3 is what they've been scoring. They're averaging now under 3 runs per game scored so far this year at 2.95. For that reason, I'm out. I have to look at the Tigers. That offense is obviously a lot more in rhythm. They're going up against Seth Lugo today. So Seth Lugo, I do think, is a very good pitcher, but even him, it's like this team just looks off, right? Like, I think that Cole Reagans is good, but even then yesterday doesn't look all that phenomenal. So even though I like Seth Lugo, I had a really good year a year ago, he's just kind of been off this year, just like the rest of the squad. Now, Casey Mize is on the bump for Detroit. I can't sit here and say that he's been bad or good. He has 2 really good starts, one against Seattle. Okay, I'm willing to throw that out. But then he pitched 6 innings, 1 earned run, 6 Ks, just 4 hits against the Yankees. I'm willing to give him credit for that one. And then Minnesota kind of got to him. So now all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I thought you were pitching pretty well. Minnesota, a team that I don't deem the best offense, gets to you, right? And he has some scary numbers against this Kansas City squad. 76 plate appearances against, only a 10.5% K rate. This year he does have a K rate at 22% and 25% at home, so we'll give him a little bit of a leeway there. But 7 walk percent, average against a 406, slugging 561. Makes it even questionable to look at, you know, him, right? So I do think, and this is probably the last time I'm kind of thinking this could be the case, that Kansas City's offense is bound to bounce back. This total down at 8, I don't mind a slight slight lean towards the over. It could be, I think we saw like 18% chance of precipitation, but 60 degrees and 13-mile-an-hour winds blowing out towards the outfield. Kansas City, if we do give them credit, they do hit a lot of fly balls. Not exactly hard, not exactly with power, but a lot of fly balls. Eventually, I think that they will come around. So this will be an over spot for me. And like I said, I have to lean towards Detroit, even with the rough pitcher on the mound, or what I could see a rough situation on the mound, just because I'm not willing to trust this Kansas City offense in terms of picking a side. I don't mind the idea of an over because I still, in the back of this dumb brain, at some point I see this team turning it around, which they just have too many, I would even say too many decent hitters. Like, you don't even need to have good hitters to score better than you have. So a little worrisome for them, but right now it's going to be an over as well as Detroit for me. One player prop spot that I'm looking to explore a little bit more here is going to be Jonathan India, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I'm liking the odds for this as of right now. You could see 6 straight games he has not cashed that. He's hit the under in 14 of 19, head-to-head 4 straight against them, including yesterday and the day before. And what I like about this is India against Mize. Okay, well, 1 plate appearance. I'm not putting too much stock into that. But this year to start, playing against right-handed pitchers, this to start the season, 175 against righties, WRC plus in the gutter. Casey Mize, okay, struggles against the right-handed batter. That could worry us a little bit, but take a peek at this. The slider is going to be, at least so far, the second pitch for Casey Mize, but he's thrown it as the number 1 pitch, right? This is a spot in which his WOBA drops, as does his K rate. His K percentage technically goes up, but that means it drops in terms of stats. Same thing with the fastball. He sees the splitter, not all that great. The sinker he'll get as well, not all that tremendous. So I think it's a good spot to look at his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. The dude just has not been playing well this season, so that's a player prop I'd consider in this one. And honestly, being it a 105 play, that's probably a spot in which I'd go before anything else we talked about. Chicago taking on Arizona. My man Zach Gallen on the mound for the D-backs, going up against Ben Brown. I would say there's a strong pitching advantage on the Diamondback side of things, but I'm biased. Zach Gallen's one of my favorite in the league right now. Ben Brown just had a shutout performance against the Dodgers. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 0 earned runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. So it's like, okay, does he have something there? But against this Diamondbacks team, now it's a super, super small sample size, obviously. Not exactly the best of numbers. He does have an average against of 91, so 0.91, but an expected of 290, so that flips. What I'm putting more stock into is the fact that Zach Gallen obviously has a pretty historied career here with the Cubs, 116 plate appearances against, strikeout rate of nearly 28%, a average against of 214, expected batting average against of 210, expected WOBA of 276. So I think it's a good spot for him. We know he's going to throw a ton of fastballs. Could that worry us? Sure, I don't want to sit here and say no, but remember yesterday when the wind was blowing out and everything like that? Now we have wind blowing in at the batters. We know how much wind affects this Chicago Stadium and Wrigley, right? So I don't think that, the fastball and if they do get to and whatnot, it's going to be the biggest of deals today. So Gallen, who doesn't necessarily produce, ground balls, yes, it's up in the air. If this was yesterday, I might not like Gallen as much, even though I really do like him. But today, with him being a guy that, even if they do make hard contact, it's not going to fly as far, I think it's a decent spot. Now, one of the bigger reasons I'm liking Arizona is they're the number 1 team in terms of runs above average against fastballs this year. Ben Brown just hums fastballs. 60% of his pitches being fastballs. You have Carroll, Perdomo, Smith, Naylor, all at the start of the lineup. One, they hit righties really well in terms of average in our OPS this season, and then they also hit the fastball really well as well. So we should get a decent look at that. And I would say, Arizona in a bullpen advantageous spot as well in terms of skill. Chicago's bullpen, though they threw a lot of guys yesterday, no one really threw the day before, so I think that could be okay for them. But, Arizona didn't really utilize their big arms yesterday. So, yeah, Arizona money line, you're getting plus money for them. I'm glad to take plus money backing my man Zach Gallen. In terms of a total, it is 7.5. I almost want to say Chicago team total under, but I do know and understand how good this team is, so I'm a little worrisome of that, and I also don't want to just fully jump on Zach Gallen's back. Pause. I just don't think that, if we just take Arizona, we're factoring a lot more, which is good. Offense, bullpen, that type of thing. So Arizona money line is where I'd look in this one, especially after like a nice bounce back spot after losing to the Cubs yesterday. By the way, guys, today's show brought to you by Outlier. If you have not checked out Outlier yet, you are missing out on one of the best research tools, especially for player props. They have so many great tools within the tool, but player props and that research portion of it is what I absolutely love. I can show you better than I can tell you. Right now, I'm on their prop screen, which we'll get into. You can dive into, say we're looking at, Jaime Candelario here, under 0.5 singles. You have all of the data you need. You could see this year hasn't really done it. Last year, he's hit the under in 61% of games. You can even scroll down and see some pitching matchups and all of that information. If this one doesn't do it for you, okay, let's head back to that prop screen and see if we can find anything else. What about Jock Peterson, under 0.5 hits, runs, and RBIs? We've talked about him before and how he struggled, right? You can even see down to the pitch level. He's going up against Sasaki today. Fastball, splitter, slider. Okay, he doesn't hit the fastball well because that WOBA hits the splitter a little better and hits the slider a little bit better. So maybe this is a time to look at Jock Peterson's over, not unders, if you do want to fade the trend. Now, one really cool thing, especially if you're very busy throughout the day, you got a lot going on. I love this Insights tab right here, guys. This Insights tab, you can set your odds. Say you're only looking for a plus money play, right? We can go plus, let's go plus 105, and we'll lock that in, right? This now is filtering all of these plays that contextually are trending in the market with the minimum odds of plus 105. For example, Jung-Hoo Lee has exceeded 1.5 bases in 9 of his last 11 games on the road. He's averaging 2.7 bases per game average. If we wanted to click into that, you can click in here and go right through and see everything we need to see. We could see the pitching matchup. He's going up against Kyle Hendricks, so him against a righty doesn't look all that tremendous. Kyle Hendricks, though, does allow 20 more points in the batting average. Go through the pitches again. They even have the heat map for the pitches that he's going to see. Really cool stuff, guys, over on Outlier. Check it out. That link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. You get 7 days free. After that, it's under $20 per month for their basic membership, meaning you hit a couple plays with this, it's going to pay for itself. We've been using Outlier on the channel for years now. My favorite research tool, especially when it comes to player props in baseball. All right, Toronto taking on Seattle. We have Logan Gilbert on the mound, who's obviously a stud, going up against Jose Barrios, who he isn't, I guess. He's kind of boasting some bad numbers. Over a 5 ERA this year, 1.5 whip, a FIP of 5.24. I will give him a little credit here. His expected FIP is down in the mid-3s, so whatever. His average against at 282. He's really bad against righties, which there's a decent amount of righties in the Seattle lineup, but a few switch hitters, including Polanco, Rayleigh, so it's like, yeah, maybe there's a level of, okay, well, he's okay against lefties. He can be serviceable today, which is kind of what we're hoping for. I'm hoping he keeps the ball on the ground today. This is a Seattle team that definitely does, hit ground balls, as does this Toronto team, but I'm not worried about Gilbert. And why I'm looking at that is because I do like the idea of a first 5 under. We cashed this yesterday. I see it being another good look today in terms of these two squads. Toronto's offense, I do think, has a lot more oomph behind them than the Seattle offense, but against Logan Gilbert, it should at least neutralize that to some degree, right? And we've even seen that. 76 plate appearances against. He's got a 263 expected batting average against, an expected WOBA of 317. Not all that bad. And then on the Jose Barrios side of things, it's like, okay, even though he's had a really bad year against this Seattle team, 95 plate appearances against, an expected batting average against of 249, an average against of 207, and an expected WOBA of 316. So not bad either, right? So I think both these guys can go out there and give us hopefully 5 strong innings. But even if they don't, I'm not all that confident in both offenses stepping up. If anything, I would say maybe Toronto's does, but that's even a big maybe because I think there's a massive pitching advantage on the side of Seattle, right? So you get what I'm getting at here. I'm going to lean towards this first 5 under, and then, I guess by default, I would say Seattle at minus 115 because how many times can I mention? I think they have such a strong advantage when it comes to the pitching. Now, bullpen, not so much. So if you do like it, maybe you just want to isolate Logan Gilbert versus Barrios and look at the first 5. That could be, something of consideration as well, instead of involving that Seattle bullpen or anything like that. Yesterday's game was low scoring all the way through, 3-1. They scored all of those runs in the first 5, but still hit the first 5 under. So, go do something similar or better than that today, and we'll be chilling here. First 5 under, and Seattle is going to be, in terms of a money line spot, where I lean there. When it comes to a player prop, I am looking at a couple unders in this one. I kind of like Logan Gilbert's under 1.5 walks. This has been a Toronto team that against right-handed pitchers have not really been walking. Only 7% walk rate, and he has a 4.8% walk rate so far this year. He's been walking a lot more lefties, but, there's a decent amount of righties in this lineup right now with a switch hitter in Santander. Maybe you move one over, obviously, to the left-handed side. But still, that could be a look that I'm considering. I think that he'll have his command today. And then Andres Jimenez here, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, another one that I'm looking at. He struggles against the right-handed bat. I worry that he's been hitting the fastball well, which is obviously what Gilbert's going to go to. But if the slider's on, we should be okay there. So, yeah. And by the way, thanks to Outlier, we're able to find those two. But keep an eye on the final plays there. I think the first 5 is most likely to get played by me today. All right, Mets taking on the Cards. We can kind of fly through this one. Senga on the mound going up against Liberatore. Liberatore, I guess some of his numbers, we could make the argument that they look good this year, right? I mean, it would mostly be because of that last start against Philadelphia, kind of swaying things because his other 2 starts weren't all that great, but he is pitching deep in the games. He's striking out a lot of guys this year, so there are some positives to pull. I would say, other than that first start, we've seen Kodai Senga look a hell of a lot better, right? 5 innings pitched, 0 earned runs. His next start, 7 innings pitched, 0 earned runs. I don't really see the angle to make the case that this Cardinals team really gets to him either. The cutter is going to be one of, if not his main pitch today. He keeps it on the ground as well. And the St. Louis team, likes to hit up on the ball. The cutter also being a bottom 10 pitch for them in terms of where they rank in the league. I think this is a good Met spot. They have a bullpen advantage as well. But again, is that really dropping any jaws? Like, look at the line, right? Right now we're sitting at minus 170, your best look in terms of odds. That's a little outside of my price range. Minus 1.5 for them for plus 125. I don't hate, but what I will say is I hate taking the minus 1.5. Excuse me, it was a hiccup. Minus 1.5 for home teams because they might not get their last at bats. If they're winning 4-3 and leading by 1 heading into the 9th, they don't need to hit in the 9th, meaning they're not going to get that extra at bat sequence to potentially put one more run in, right? So that worries me a little bit. Maybe we can make the case for a Mets first 5. But again, Liberatore's been pitching okay, so I would say the bullpen, the more innings we get, the better for this Mets squad, just in general. So a little worrisome there, but yeah, that's like I said, we can go through quickly. Give me the Mets. In terms of a total, I like potentially a team total under for St. Louis, kind of trusting Senga and the fact that I don't think that this St. Louis team is matched well to kind of hit him, I guess, if that makes sense. What we got for player props in this one, nothing that really is looking like it could be a full-on final play right now, but you never know. We'll keep looking at these throughout the day and even do even more research, past this is the early morning look. But Alec Burleson under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, and then it was also Lars Nootbaar under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. But both of those guys, in terms of going against a right-handed pitcher, they do hit them pretty well. So the pitch mix I like, but they hit righties pretty well, making it a little scary, you know what I mean? All right, next game, Pittsburgh taking on Cleveland. Paul Skeens on the bump for Pittsburgh, going up against Ben Lively. I don't think there's any hiding who has the pitching advantage in this one. I will say it's a little tough to sit here and be like, okay, well, what about this offense, right? This Pittsburgh offense, sure, they scored 7 runs yesterday. Was it 7? Yeah. And 5 of those runs came, 7th inning and on. So realistically, they only had 2 runs through the first 5. Cleveland got to, who pitched for Pittsburgh yesterday? Miladinsky, right? But either way, he didn't look all that great. He had 5 earned runs through just 4 innings. This is a spot in which I think we got a little bit of the crossover, kind of like the X factor. If I look at this, so this is our dashboard. I'll explain how to get access to this dashboard in a little bit. But I'm sort of, I should say, looking at a first 5 under, and I said it's like the crossover, kind of the X factor. I don't know. We're going to patent the name to some degree because this I don't love, right? I don't love the red that I'm seeing from Ben Lively. But if we cross it over to the Pittsburgh lineup, they stink. Like, this is not a good lineup. We know that. So, okay, well, then maybe this isn't going to be as bad because he's got, not the most adverse situation on hand. Now, this and the batting side of things is pretty good. We see some yellow, but a lot of green numbers for Cleveland. They're striking out not that much. They're walking a decent amount. They have some decent power numbers down here, right? So, okay, why would we take a first 5 under? Well, because of this. This looks like it could certainly cross over and take care of that. So it's like good pitcher can take care of the good offense, but a bad offense can hopefully take care of the bad pitcher by not scoring on them for something like a first 5 under. So, yeah, I like this spot. We took it yesterday, got absolutely rocked on it. Like, it didn't even come close to hitting because of all those runs Cleveland scored. But I think we might run back a first 5 under in this one. We hit it in the first game of the series, right, earlier on. So I think that this is a spot in which that's what we consider. Again, kind of the crossover effect. I think Paul Skeens takes care of the good offense, and then Ben Lively, though he struggled, I could sit here and be like, well, I think that a bad offense won't do much to him, and we kind of already saw that. I didn't mention it yet, but Chicago, really bad offense, arguably worse than obviously this Pittsburgh lineup, but he went, 2 hits through 5 innings, 0 earned runs against them. The other offenses, San Diego, Kansas City, now I think they're bad, but kind of tagged him up a little bit, and he played, I think he played Kansas City twice, and they got to him, so who really knows? First 5 under is going to be where we look, and then first 5 probably on the Pittsburgh side of things. First 5 run line. That first 5 under right now at 4.5 is 138 in terms of price. But the first 5 run line, if you do like Pittsburgh minus the half a run, minus 128. So not all that bad. But I think that if Skeens does his job, meaning, maybe even Pittsburgh, is winning this one after the first 5 and whatnot, I bet it's like a 3-1 or 2-1 type of a spot, right? So I think first 5 under kind of includes a little bit more of what we need here versus, what if it's 1-1 after the first 5. Skeens did his job, as did Lively, but we'd lose that first 5 run line, right? So that's how I'm playing this one. I'm going to look at the first 5 under, but I would consider Pittsburgh on the first 5 as well if we needed a player prop in this one. If we needed a side in this one. In terms of player props, we can move over here. I think that this is a good look for potentially some players in their under, like Jose Ramirez, under 1.5 bases. The dude's been torching as of late, but he's going up against a right-handed pitcher. He struggles a little bit more against that, and I do think that Skeens' slider could be something that gets to him today, so we'll see about that one. But any Guardians unders, I think we could get through 4 or 5 innings of these guys not doing much, meaning you only have a few more innings to worry about. Pittsburgh's bullpen has been decent, has struggled at times this year, so you only have a few more at-bats to go through of that. But that's kind of how we'd look at this overall. Baltimore taking on Cincinnati. Interesting, right? We have a kid making his MLB debut. He has really good numbers this year, and then even last year, pretty good numbers in AAA. Brandon Young. Now, the thing is, he's going up against a guy that has looked really good this season in Hunter Green. Like, Hunter Green has been diabolical this year in a sense. Some of his numbers look fake. 0.98 ERA, a whip of 0.58, at home a 0.58 whip, a FIP of 169, an expected FIP of 327. That's still good, but it is a little bit different. But here's the big one, an average against of 126. He's having righties against him at 109. There's a lot of lefties in this line for Baltimore, though. But again, I think it's going to be tough to sit here and be like, oh, well, let's back the kid we don't know too much about overtaking Hunter Green at plus money. Do you know what I mean? So I do think I lean Cincinnati in this spot. Maybe a Cincinnati first 5, but I don't even mind getting to that bullpen overall either. But I just, the price makes too much sense to me. Am I willing? I don't know much about Brandon Young, so obviously that's a factor, and maybe I don't end up taking this because of that. But you hear what I'm saying? It's like an elite pitcher right now going up against a Baltimore team who hasn't really been hitting all that well. Now, they do hit righties better than lefties. I'll give that piece of credit to people that like Baltimore today, but it's Hunter Green, and the dude has been absolutely gassing so far. So yeah, it's tough for me to get to the Baltimore side of things with all the question marks. Cincinnati for plus money is going to be what I take a peek at here. In terms of a total, your guess is as good as mine what we're going to get out of this kid. Now, if you know something about him, let me know in the comments. Let other people know in the comments. I only know the stats I see. I've never seen him throw. So I would lean towards maybe a Cincinnati team total over. They hit righties a lot better than they do lefties, and this kid is at least a righty if I'm not mistaken. But like I said, we shall see what we're going to get out of this kid. Cincinnati money line's probably a spot I'd consider, though. Yesterday, we saw a pretty damn good one out of this, right? We saw DeGrom go 7. We saw Yamamoto go 7. Yamamoto, 10 strikeouts, 5 hits through 7, no earned runs. Jacob DeGrom, like, if he wasn't up against Yamamoto, you would be like, this is a phenomenal night. But he did let up the solo home run there. 1 earned run, 3 hits, 7 strikeouts, 7 innings for him. So what a good game if you like pitching, which you guys know that I like my unders, and I think they can be just as entertaining as overs. What a good game. Today could be something very similar. Now, I don't know if I'm jumping to the under or the Texas side of things, but we do have Eovaldi on the mound going up against Roki Sasaki, who, I think he's very, very good, and he's looked very, very good. but he still hasn't pitched deep into games. And Eovaldi is a guy that, like, if he's going, he will go. And what I mean by that is he will pitch deep into games, which I think is going to be pretty damn massive, because I would say LA's got a decent bullpen advantage over this Texas team just in general, especially with them being fully rested. Texas only threw, 2 or 3 guys yesterday, but they've had some guys work 3 out of the last 4 nights too, some high leverage arms. So yeah, I think that the Dodgers for plus money here might be my look, but I don't know if I'm ready to just, fade Eovaldi. That dude's one of my favorite pitchers in the league. So yeah, maybe I could consider an under, but I think the Dodgers may be the better side. Like, how often are you getting a plus number next to the Dodgers? And this kid is a good pitcher. Like, he truly is. I mean, he cried after pitching bad. That's a kid that cares. You know what I mean? So give me the Dodgers. I will lean under, and then no player props, because if I'm leaning under and I think there's good pitching, this brain would start looking for some unders we can take. But there is too many, there are too many good bats in this game to consider that. I guess, in fact, let's see. Actually, we have not looked at this yet, so this would be a good test of Outlier for you guys to see, right? I was thinking, because of all the Dodgers bats, I don't want to take unders and whatnot, but are there any Texas unders that we could look at here? Simeon, who has definitely struggled, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, 2 straight against them. This season, he's only hit the over in 5, so under in 14. Batting poorly against righties. The fastball, he's been hitting the fastball well. The splitter and the slider, not so much. This could be a decent look, right? 125. All right, we'll keep that in thought. Let's see if there's any other ones that we can find fairly quickly here. Again, all I'm looking for is unders, maybe 1.5s for this Texas team. You know what? Simeon may be a good look here. He has not been playing all that well, right? Obviously, this season he's really struggled. And the fastball concerns me, but like the fastball, okay, his Wobic jumps to 422, but the splitter and the slider, which we're going to get a decent amount of the splitter. Yeah, that might make it. That might make it into a final play. We'll see. I'm not locked in on it yet, but that may be a good look. So I'll lean in that direction in terms of player prop. Simeon, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. See how easy it is to find a player prop with Outlier with data backing it? That took us like 2 minutes. Now, obviously, I'll dig in a little bit more and whatnot, but talk about a great starting point. Speaking of starting point, I've already showed you the dashboard, right? This is our dashboard. We build this every single day and give it to you guys. Outlier combined with this, you are just in fantastic shape, and I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not blowing smoke up your arse. It's great. We build this every single day. All you have to do is head over to GuyBostonSports.com to access it. Members, right here, MLB dashboard. Now, if you're already logged in and have a membership, you got access, right? You can open up this dashboard each and every day. You can print it out. You can zoom in. We're going to make some even more visual adjustments to it, but you get each and every game broken out in a visual format. You have pitcher data over here. You have pitch mix data, so what do these pitchers throw? Batting data based on the situation, so overall versus the hand, and then versus the hand, whether it's home or away as well. And then you have them against specific pitches. We even have some player data now built in. This was not here last year, as well as some bullpen, so this is an awesome starting point as well to mix with that Outlier, right? You got Outlier, which we love to work with, and then we build this ourselves, an amazing tool. If you guys are not logged in and don't have access just yet, we'll set this to a view without membership access mode. All you have to do is click view membership levels when you go to members and then go to the MLB dashboard, and you'll see a couple different options. We have this kind of a preview video of our NBA dashboard, but the MLB dashboard, $4.99 per month. You can get both dashboards for $6.99 per month, and if you keep that going year round, you get any dashboard that we make. So we make our NFL dashboard, our NBA, our MLB, all that stuff, guys, each and every day or week if it's the NFL season. So consider becoming a dashboard member over on GuyBostonSports.com today. Again, I think this is a great tool. We put a lot of work into this. That's why I monetize it to you guys. But again, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. Like, I use this every single day. It helps with the research process and just makes things a lot more efficient instead of going to multiple websites, right? We have a bunch of different websites pulling in, and a lot is manual for me as well in terms of plugging in data, but this is like pulling in from 8 different sites. So really cool stuff. Consider joining today. Colorado taking on Washington. This was the snowed out game yesterday. I really don't have too much interest in it overall. I would say that, looking at Dollander and Mackenzie Gore, even though I said yesterday I think that there is an advantage, I do think Dollander's pretty good. Mackenzie Gore does have the advantage. It looks like we're going to get less precipitation today. This is probably one where I look at the under, potentially Washington money line, but I don't think that I'm racing to the window to make sure I get that in or anything like that. So yeah, it's gonna be a Washington underplay, but that may be it. In terms of player props, we do have, I believe we had at least one that we were considering in this one. Two, Hunter Goodman and Adele Amandor here, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. You guys know how I've been loving my unders. My one thing with Goodman is that he hits lefties better. Mackenzie Gore is a lefty. And then the other side of things, Mackenzie Gore doesn't pitch that well against righties, and that would be the thing for Amador. So yeah, those are two fringe player props as of right now in terms of what I'm liking. I also saw Toglia under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. That one I like. He doesn't hit the fastball well, but he hits the curve, which Mackenzie Gore throws a decent amount, a lot as well. But he does struggle mightily against the left hand. So Toglia could be a spot as well. I think in his last game he had a home run, so I don't think he's going to have a good game 2 games in a row, right? Or so we hope. All right, Red Sox taking on the White Sox. Garrett Crochet pitching against his old squad here. They're massive favorites. That makes a hell of a lot of sense. And I mean massive favorites, like probably even outside of the range of potentially being a parlay piece, right? But I would say Red Sox is going to be my look today. I consider them a team total over as well. I think that they could put up a decent number here against Shane Smith, who I don't necessarily love. But if you even wanted to just look at maybe the White Sox team total under for the full game, that's a look. Like, I think there's ways of going about taking this Red Sox team without having to go out there and pay, minus 300, right? So maybe a Chicago team total under 3.5 could be a look today. Again, Garrett Crochet is getting the start. He should be able to shut them down for a few innings. Then you just have to factor in, okay, well, what about this bullpen? That surely can get a little bit dicey. So even if you do like their team total under 1.5 for the first 5, Garrett Crochet does his job. I like that, but I do think that this White Sox offense does stink. And even if you look at their last few games, they've stayed under this, and I believe 9 of their last 10. So team total under could be something that I'm strongly considering today. It's kind of back in Crochet, just with also the hope now that we see, like, okay, well, we're back in Crochet, but we got to make sure that we get a little bit of, action from the bullpen, which we cross our fingers and hope we can get there, right? So, yeah, under 3.5 for White Sox team total, probably the only thing I look at in this. All right, Tampa Bay taking on the Yankees. Much like we said yesterday, and we were wrong about the Yankees scoring a lot of runs, right? But I do still think that this is a mispricing. Now, Carlos Carrasco's on the mound. He stinks, and we do like to fade the Rays against lefties. Carrasco is a righty. So there are some factors here where it's kind of like, all right, we got, issues, I guess, in terms of that. But Yankees being the far better offense, still, in my opinion, they are going up against Shane Baz, who I like as a pitcher. But this is probably still a Yankees spot for me. Again, I think that they should be fairly comfortable where they're playing as well, considering the spring training field and that type of thing. So just because we're getting plus money behind what I'd consider still the better team, I'm going to lean Yankees. What I will say is that Yankees at plus 115 is telling that, and this total at 9 is telling that, yeah, I think that the Rays probably do get to Carrasco. So if you like Yankees team total over, sure, but then at that point you're trying to fade Baz, which I don't know if that's necessarily the biggest smartest big brain move. So overall, I would say Yankees money line or Yankees first 5 money line or pass in this one. The total, I almost want to say over, but Shane Baz pitching kind of worries me. I think that dude is good. Next game up, we have Houston taking on San Diego. In this one, we have Hayden Wesnecky going up against Michael King. Now, if you guys have been watching all year, you know that I do really believe in Michael King. I think that he's very underrated, even though people know he's good. That's even what I mean. Like, he's still underrated in my book. Hayden Wesnecky, not exactly having a terrible year, but I do think that, we'd be lying to ourselves if we said there wasn't a pitching advantage for San Diego. A lane you could take to get to Houston would be, well, looking at how, Michael King's pitched on the road this year, he's been kind of strugglesome. But he only has that one start. It was against Atlanta, still went 5 2/3, only 3 earned runs. So even though it looks like he's struggling from that compared to his other starts, I still don't know if I'm ready to say that he's struggled on the road this year. This Houston offense definitely has struggled overall. Now, they scored 6 runs yesterday. Great. Kyle Hart they got as the starting pitcher. And then even from a bullpen perspective, they really didn't touch anyone. So Hart was the one that ends up losing that one. And the fact that was his first loss of the year is crazy. But I think with Michael King on the mound, this is a fine time to pivot towards San Diego. In terms of the bullpen, both these teams do have good bullpens. I'll give a little bit of credit there. But overall, in terms of Houston, they pitched some of their really good guys. Hader, Abreu, King, someone else yesterday. Now, no one pitched the day before, so I would still expect those guys to be good. But I think that does matter because San Diego barely used any of their bullpen. So, yeah, I would say this is a spot in which we could just say San Diego money line. I think they have the better offense, comparable bullpen, maybe even better, but definitely a better pitcher, starting pitcher here. Now, if you wanted to just fade Wesnecky and maybe a tax to some degree Astros bullpen, sure, you can go Padres team total over. And if you wanted to just pin these starters against one another, you could also just look at, San Diego on the first 5 money line. The counter I would say to that is that I think the more game that we have here, the better overall for San Diego to get runs in and everything like that. So, yeah, I'm going to lean towards San Diego. Even yesterday, they scored what? Like, they made that game closer. They scored 2 in, like, the 7th or 8th inning. Like, this is a team that I'd want the more innings because I think they have, regardless of pitching and bullpen, they have a way better offense than Houston. So I do think that, the more innings that we get out of them, if that makes sense, the better. So I don't want to just isolate it to first 5. In terms of a total, I did already kind of, tip my hand there. I like San Diego team total over. I'm not sure about the Astros. I don't know if they're going to go out there and be able to hit King up. So, yeah, I'm going to lean San Diego team total over as a total here more so than anything else. Player prop here, and this is realistically very, very Michael King and pitch mix specific, but I like Yannier Diaz under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Yes, I know the dude is good. Yes, he did, have a good game. I think he had, 2 hits and like a couple RBIs yesterday, something like that. But up against Michael King here, and we got to remember, 1, Michael King I do really think is good, and 2, Michael King is going to throw fastball, slider, changeup, and sinker as his 4 pitches. Those are all pretty evenly thrown amongst his pitch mix, right? Well, Diaz, the slider, who's technically his number 1 pitches here, hits the slider really, really poorly. Hits the fastball well, hits the changeup poorly, hits the sinker well. So anything off speed, which King can be very good at, Diaz should struggle against today. So I like his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Milwaukee taking on the Athletics. Chad Patrick on the mound going up against Luis Severino. I am not one to usually like Luis Severino. I've been on record saying I think that he had a really good year, but due for regression, blah, blah, blah. But Chad Patrick, I don't have much faith in. I do think that this is a Milwaukee lineup that hits righties better, and maybe they could potentially get to Severino, but seeing a plus number next to the Athletics in this spot does make me consider taking a peek at them. Now, if I were to do it, I probably would just go full game because this is a team in the Athletics that their bullpen doesn't really pitch all that well. They have been good, but I wouldn't say that they're consistent. Milwaukee's kind of in the exact same boat in terms of a bullpen. You know what I mean? So I like the idea of a potential lean towards the over and Athletics money line in this spot. I don't know, again, if I could fully get there because I do think that Severino, not the biggest Severino guy, but I'm also for sure as hell not a big Chad Patrick guy. So give me the over as well as the A's. Atlanta taking on Minnesota. Now, this is a spot in which, I would say Atlanta has an advantage. And why is that? Well, Chris Sale's on the bump. Chris Sale, as we know, is absolutely filthy. He just hasn't been filthy. He is getting older, and last year was obviously his best year. He won the Cy Young. I still think that this is a spot in which Minnesota should struggle to see him well today. They're terrible against lefties, like dead last. Now, they haven't seen too many lefties, but dead last this year against the lefty. I think you could fit Atlanta in some sort of a money line spot. I definitely don't think that there's much value in their run line. 1, we already talked about it. You get that lack of the last inning. And 2, for just plus 105, like I'd rather this be plus 120 if we were to consider it. So I'll take Atlanta as well as maybe an under. We didn't even talk about the pitcher on the other side of things. It's going to be Simeon Wood-Richardson, who he's been pretty poor, but I do think he's a decent pitcher at least. So maybe an under, first 5 under potentially in this spot as well, with Atlanta on the money line and some sort of a parlay, I guess. All right, we got the Angels taking on the Giants. Landon Roop on the mound, too. I think is a good pitcher and definitely has some serious potential as well. So I'm going to give him a little bit of credit, maybe more than he deserves, but I feel like he was a guy that I didn't like and now do in a sense. And this is coming off of a game in which he didn't really pitch that well against Philadelphia, but he didn't pitch that poorly. Now we have Kyle Hendricks, who's been, I guess, around. I don't really want to put too much stock into him, but I will say 92 plate appearances against this current San Francisco roster. He has some really, really good numbers, like really good. So kind of concerns me that he might go out there and pitch well against a team in San Francisco that I do think is good, but he clearly sees pretty well. And San Francisco 0 runs yesterday with the Angels score like 2 or 3. maybe an under spot in this one. I still think that I'd give advantage to San Francisco on the side, so I'll say San Francisco money line, but I'm kind of considering either that full game under, which is volatile as all hell because of the Angels, or just maybe a first 5 under in this one. I guess I could see myself going in that direction. So yeah, Angels and Giants first 5 under, and San Francisco on the money line would be what I consider here. But that is going to wrap it up for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know exactly what to do. Exactly. You hit that like button harder than you're hitting your best home run of your life. You never played baseball and you just like baseball? Picture yourself hitting a home run and how that would feel. Just do that hitting the like button. Hit that subscribe button as well. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.